So today's topic is mastering the digital SAT. It's a very, very important topic to understand. It's a very important aspect to also master if you're looking for the top universities in America. A lot of kids applying from India over the past history have been largely around STEM, computer science being one of the most favored one. All of these students do typically give out a SAT or an ACT exam, which typically are the only two for USA. So that's, I would say, the nutshell of our conversation today. We'd be looking at various aspects around its sections. We'd be looking at how do you really go out and super score. But before we do all of that, I would just like to understand a little bit about you guys before I also give the introductions about the organization itself. But just to understand from your side, which majors is the audience today largely interested in, really helps me to focus on the right parts of SAT. So the votes that I can see currently, again, it is dominating towards sciences, engineering on its highest, pure sciences, economics, finance, right? So these are all STEM-based topics, maths being a core. There are also some students who are looking at economics and finance, but without mathematics, right? I think that may be from a more political science perspective. But yes, overall, I'd say the audience today that are, looking for guidance should be having maths as a strong subject. Moving on to the other question, which country are the students largely more interested towards? Let me just launch this poll. Right. So this is just another poll just to understand which countries are students largely interested in. And the dominating country again, USA, which makes typical sense being today the topic itself of being SAT. But also, mind you, students were looking for admissions in Canada, even Australia, other countries. SAT can be a paper, an entrance exam that may be extremely valid for you as well. SAT is not only a USA based entrance exam. There are other countries and universities globally that also do accept SAT results. A lot of Indian universities have also started taking SAT, but I'm largely referring to all of your new kind of universities, Plasha. You've got Ashoka universities, these new liberal art colleges, they are looking at SAT. So even beyond USA, there are countries that should be interesting you. So one last question, just to understand which grade students are in that are attending the session. So we have got a good mix of kids right from grade 8, 9, 10th, 11th, a good volume of kids from grade 11. And again, students who've just gotten into grade 11, this is your very crucial time of giving the SAT itself. So from that perspective, it's really good to see that that's the maximum majority of students joining across. Grade 10, again, you've got a year ahead of you before you could attempt SAT. Ninth, again, the same. And I think it's very important at this stage. I'll just like to just state it out that SAT is grade 10 syllabus, mathematics and English. So, with that, do you and understanding you guys in terms of the population attending today, I'll now just show you across the roadmap that we'll be taking across. We'll be discussing about SAT. We'll be seeing the digital framework, the scoring, the sections, both of them, maths and the English section itself. What is the importance of SAT as well? And overall, we would like to share a plan with you. That is one of the objectives of the session today. So a lot of students can try to envision, dependent you're on grade 10, 11, that's where we really think preparing for SAT becomes extremely important and really practical, because that is the course that you would be being exposed to in your SAT. It is your grade 10 syllabus. So any student in grade 10 and 11 can start thinking across of SAT. Lastly, as we do with all of our presentations, I'll give you our approach to this whole SAT aspect. And we will then close the presentation with giving you an opportunity to get access to our various resources, various platforms where you could get all of this information on admissions. Now, before we move on to this topic of SAT itself, giving you a quick introduction about Let's Unbound. As an organization, we began with a focus on skill building and empowering elementary, middle school students with STEM, life skills, mentorship. And as these students then progressed to high school, we started seeking college admissions guidance. And that's where we listened. We then evolved our services to seamlessly integrate the storytelling aspect through the applications into our well-established mentoring programs. Now, by combining personalized learning, skill development, strategic admission support, we guide students right from their early academic years to top global university admits. Today, we have impacted more than 4,000 students across 25 countries and have delivered more than 125,000 hours of expert mentoring. Like giving you now moving across from the organization, a quick dive into the profile of the co-founders with me. On your left, you have Amol. He's a serial entrepreneur and educational visionary. He's got experiences at Tata and at Exceed, India's largest school ed tech platform. Amol has helped scale impactful education solutions across 2,000 schools in 6 countries and has impacted over 250,000 students. He's really known for his ability to blend business thinking with on-ground school realities and has been instrumental in helping startups from IIT Bombay and beyond. Now, on your right, you have got the other co-founder, Nishant Chawla. He's a mentor, he's an educator. He's the brains behind many of the learning pathways that we'll also be sharing across today. With 14 plus years of experience across academia, across industry, he has counseled more than 1,000 students and has designed curriculum solutions right from K-12 to executive MBA programs. Now, to give you a quick introduction about myself, the host for the session today, I have got experiences in investments and in advisory roles right across from Citibank, Standard Charter. I have worked with institutes as Crimson Education, Added Education. Both of them have that expertise in admissions abroad, and I've worked with a lot of students who have now been studying in their undergraduation programs right across the globe in USA, UK, Australia. Now, with all of the introductions done and overall roadmap set across, I think now we should just move in to the topic itself, which is firstly to understand, what is SAT and what is College Board that is around it. And more largely, I think one of those important discussions that is remaining around SAT is that why does SAT still matter? Why are we still, in this conversation across SAT? Because during those COVID years, we did hear about a lot of SAT blind concepts. But even today, as I would say, in a test optional world, a strong SAT score is still that difference maker. It beyond your admissions, it's something that can really help you unlock the scholarships that you may be looking for. It may help you stand out also in this whole competitive applications. Remember, majority of the students from India, you could see from our our attendance pool today as well. They are STEM students. You having a strong mathematics score within that SAT score really does show the college that you're ready for that academic rigor. International students, again, on international boards, SAT is again another global, I would say, benchmarking to your overall grades. So it's again, you have to see it from that perspective. It is extremely valid. The SAT, which is actually originally called, and that is the full name for it, the Scholastic Aptitude Test. It was first introduced in 1926. Now, over the years, it has evolved to better access students' critical thinking and overall solving skills. So today's SAT remains really a widely used college admissions test, primarily for the USA, but for universities worldwide as well. We will be looking at various different Indian universities that also do accept SAT scores. Now, the College Board, the organization behind SAT, it's a non-for-profit organization founded in the 1900s. It is the organization that administers SAT. Its mission is to really expand your access to higher education by providing standardized assessments and resources for students. Some other programs that are also run by College Board are your advanced placements. And under the whole SAT umbrella, they also do give you PSAT and NMSQT. Those are, that is, PSAT is a practice SAT in a way, and your other one is used for your National Merit Scholarship. Now that we have understood that what is SAT, what is the organization behind SAT itself, now let's really start to break up SAT itself. Let's try to understand the framework behind the new digital SAT that has been started. So really want to understand that how is the test structured? What does it all evaluate? So the digital SAT has been really redesigned to make the test taking experience a more streamlined, secure, and focused on skills that truly matter for college and beyond, and in a way, as you'll understand moving forward, really adaptive to the skills that you're going to be showing, let's suppose in round number one. So that's a very important part that I've just said, and I'll be explaining how what I really mean by that adaptive aspect. Now, as always, your SAT has got its two sections, but now the test would be lasting for 2 hours 14 minutes, which is shorter than the previous paper-based version. And as I just said, the two sections, one is maths, which would be covering topics as algebra, advanced mathematical concepts, data analysis. And then you have got your English section, which is basically called your evidence-based reading and writing section, which assesses your comprehension, your grammar, reasoning, analytical skills. And those are the two parts that, how that test is going to be divided. The test, as we now really say, would be seeing how you apply knowledge. And the way this is now conducted is now a digital and it is administered online. So with those aspects, one of the most important changes that has happened in the digital SAT is the shift away from the old techniques of memorization towards the real world application of knowledge that as SAT and College Board is typically putting it across as. Now, moving across to the next point is that how does the SAT scoring work beyond the two sections, the platform, and the overall time that you do get? So one of the biggest changes with SAT is, as I was also saying in the last part, that it is now an adaptive test. So, but what does that actually go on to mean? So the SAT is now divided into two stages. There are two sections that I spoke about on the last slide. Now, within each section, there are two stages. And as I said, within reading and writing, you will face that two stage. Within math, you will face that same two stages. Everyone would start with the same stage one. And this would include, let's say, your easy to medium questions and a little bit of hard questions as well. However, based on your performance in stage one, you would be placed in either one of the two stages that you can see below, which is easy stage one or harder stage two. If you perform well in stage one, you move to harder stage two, which contains mostly medium to hard questions. If you, let's say, unfortunately don't perform that well on stage one itself, you will then move into your easier stage two, which contains mostly easy to medium questions. Now, this means that your performance in stage one will also determine your scoring range. Now, how does that happen? Students who would be placed in your harder stage two have the highest possible score up to 800 per section, which opens up your SAT score to touch that 1600 kind of a score. And very honestly, if you're looking at any score beyond 1400, you need to be hitting at least one of these harder stage two. Students that are placed in easier stage two have a maximum possible score capped around 600 per section. So it's that way it becomes extremely important for you to really score well in your stage one, where then you open up your possibility, technically saying, for a top university admission, where they are looking for SAT score really above 1450, 1500 on its bare minimum. So you getting into these harder stage two is going to be extremely important. And as always, that stage two difficulty will then affect your final scoring range. Now, the SAT remains out of 1600 as always, with 800 points going for math and reading and writing. So do remember stage one, you'd get a mix of different kind of questions, both for English and mathematics. How you perform will depend on stage one or stage two, dependent on your stage two easier or stage two harder, dependent on your performance, which ranges your score either being capped at 600 or opening it all the way up to 800. Now, moving on from this aspect, after giving an explanation of the two stages, let's do some number crunching itself. Let's try to understand the SAT score. Let's break it down and see it by the time being allocated, the number of questions that you're getting, and the way those stages are going to be working. Now, how many questions do you, let's say, need to get right while you're seeing the data? Now, each section has a total of, let's say, 54 questions, which is the highest, which you will see in terms of your reading and writing section. Maths has 44, reading and writing has 54. Your final score is calculated based on the number of correct answers, the raw score, and converted into a scale score from 200 to 800 per section. Now, the total test duration is 2 hours, 14 minutes, which is approximately 134 minutes. Let's do the split in the two sections. So you have got 64 minutes for 54 questions of reading and writing. That is approximately 1.2 minutes or 72 seconds per question. If you now want to see it from the maths perspective, you've got 44 questions, but you've got 70 minutes. That gives you 1.6 minutes or 96 seconds per question itself. So reading and writing per question, if you want to see it, it's 72 seconds. Maths has got it 96 seconds. So if you really think about it, if you take, let's say, too long on a single difficult question, you risk this aspect of running out time for the easier ones. And also do remember there's no negative marking. So leaving out or missing out any question in SAT is extremely, fatal in that way in terms of trying to get into a good score. So also do remember the tools that you are now getting with SAT since it's gone digital, flagging that question, skipping it across, and then returning to these difficult questions can really be a smart strategy. So you can go ahead and attempt the easier questions as well, and at least attempt all questions required to maximize your 1600 score range. So do remember, your 1600 is a scaled down result. It's not the raw score itself. Now, how can you maximize your score, which is, I would say, the real takeaway from the slide? So if you answer 40 out of 44 math questions correctly, you are going to be coming around somewhere on that range of 750 to 780. If you're somewhere there at, let's say, 40 questions out of 44. If you get, let's say, 48 out of 54 correct, you're again in that range of 730 to 760. Overall, you're very close to this range of 1500, 1550. And that's the place where you really want to be if you're looking at a top university admission. So you can also see it's not a very difficult paper. Looking at the syllabus, it's grade 10. And within maths, you don't really have to aim for that full Monty. Anyway, between 40 to 44 questions correct out of the 44, it does the deed. Anyway, between 48 to 54, you're done with the reading and writing section. And also now do remember the overall scoring in SAT at very specific universities, you may have to list down all your colleges. UNSC may just ask you for a single result, but majority of the colleges are accepting super score within SAT, which means that if you attempt it 3 times, they will take the best of your math score, the best of your English score, and they will merge it together. So if you could, replicate that 750 across math and English twice, you are really good to go with that SAT score. The final takeaway, I would say SAT is not really about getting every question right. It's about that strategical accuracy and time management and getting into that right zone of marks. So prioritize your easier and medium difficulty questions first to really ensure the higher raw score. And always keep an eye on the clock. Practice this on your SAT that you need to close and finish the whole exam, answer every question within that 2 hour, 14-minute time frame that you're working across on. And that's one of the most key, criteria that I'll say you will end up getting a good SAT score. And bare minimum, you would definitely come out with a good SAT super score, attempting this formula 2 to 3 times, just getting any zone between 750 to 800 in maths. The same thing being replicated in English. If you're in the 1500, 1550 plus zone, it is enough kind of a SAT score for your top university admits. Now, let's take a deeper move into the SAT topic. Now, let's try to look into this your section by section. So we will first start across with maths, which are the topics that are going to be extremely crucial for you to really get that 40, 42, 43 over the 44 questions that would be coming across to you. So algebra is one of the most important parts within mathematics that you need to master. You could expect anywhere between 13 to 15 questions that would be purely in algebra, which is approximately 35% of this section. It will have linear questions, equations, linear functions, systems of two linear equations. All of these topics are going to be extremely important. And this really does 1/3 of your total question. So mastering your linear equations and functions is really essential for a good SAT score. Moving on to the next point, as geometry and trigonometry, again, this will take 13 to 15 questions, and you could expect the same kind of weightage around 35%. You'd be tested on topics as linear equalities, equivalent expressions, non-linear equations, system of equations, trigonometry. So all of these topics, again, are as important as algebra itself and very key for you to be getting the right kind of score. So, dedicating extra practice time to these topics can really be beneficial, both of them that I've just told you. Now, another set of questions where you could really expect would be from your advanced maths section, which is 5 to 7 questions approximately, 15% of the syllabus, ratios, rates, proportional relationships, one variable, two variable data analysis, probability, and statistics. So all of these various topics would be really good to be prepared. Now, since this section really carries a lower weight compared to algebra and geometry, focus on mastering the fundamentals rather than overcomplicating concepts. Now, moving across to the fourth topic, which is problem solving and data analysis. Again, you could expect 5 to 7 questions here as well. 15% would be the weightage in the overall math section, which will also cover topics as area, volume calculations, lines, angles, triangles, right angle, triangle trigonometry. So many of these problems would involve interpreting data, applying formulas, and logical reasoning. So this is the overall maths section. The strategic takeaways that I'd say is that your algebra, geometry, trigonometry really accounts 70% of the math section. So focus most of your practice here. Advanced maths and problem solving contributes 30%. So while they're important, they should be seen as your secondary priority. The most important priority beyond, let's say, just the two topics is time management. So make sure that you are attempting all 44 questions in 70 minutes, which would be approximately 1.6 minutes per question, and ensure that your accuracy is really right up there while answering all of these questions. Now, moving on to the next section that we have covered maths. So let's look into the reading and writing section of the digital SAT. Now, just like in maths, understanding the content breakdown really helps us to prioritize your study areas, understand your strength areas, your weak areas, and with the overall objective of maximizing your SAT score. The reading and writing section is designed to test your ability to analyze, to interpret, to apply knowledge of the English language effectively. It is divided into 4 content domains, each contributing a specific percentage to the total score. So let's go through each one of them. The first one being your craft and structure. You could expect 13 to 15 questions here. Approximately 20%, 28% of this English section is going to be the craft and structure. This section focuses on the words, the sentences, the passages, how they are structured, and how meaning is really conveyed. The key skills that you're looking is word and context, structure and purpose, your cross-text connections, making connections between multiple passages. Now, since 1/4 of the section is dedicated to this, mastering vocabulary, comprehension strategies is really crucial. Now, the other important part is your information and ideas. You could again expect anyway between 12 to 14 questions, 26% weightage. This domain is really about understanding key ideas in a passage, analyzing the supporting evidence. The key things that they really test is your central ideas and evidence. They'll be looking at the command of evidence, textual evidence, quantitative evidence, interpreting data presented in tables, charts, graphs, and overall inferences, drawing conclusions based on the information given. So this section really focuses on critical reading skills. Students should practice skimming for, let's say, key details and understanding relationship between text and data. The other third part, which is your standard English conventions, this section really evaluates your grammar mechanics, testing your ability to write clearly and correctly. Lastly, your expression ideas. Again, you could expect 8 to 12 questions. 20% of the overall aspect comes from here. This domain will test your ability to really improve the clarity, effectiveness, and organization of writing. And this section really requires logical thinking and improves it in analyzing writing for clarity and efficiency. Now, the key strategic takeaways would be craft and structure, and information ideas will take more than 50% of this section. So focus on reading comprehension and textual analysis. Grammar rules, punctuations contribute approximately 26%. So a strong grasp of English conventions can give you a boost in scores. Time management is the real key here. 64 minutes, 54 questions, which is really about 1.2 minutes per question, 72 seconds. So prioritize accuracy over easier questions first, exactly as we do within maths. Don't waste time overthinking challenging ones initially. You have the opportunity to mark that specific question and then come back to it again at a later stage. So now these are the way I would give you the overall structure of SAT. So what we have discussed so far, we have looked at the two sections, the time, duration, the questions that they are there overall, the number of questions required for you to get into that right kind of a SAT score that you'd be looking for, the whole concept of adaptive test scoring. We then saw both of the sections, maths and reading and writing, which are the subtopics that you really need to look across at. So that's the overall understanding of what SAT is. Now we would move on to the next topic of what is the importance of STAT that, once we have looked at the structure and scoring, why does the SAT still really matter in college admissions? So over the past few years, universities have adopted for a test optional policies, which was really accelerated due to the pandemic, which allowed students to apply without your SAT, without ACT scores. However, now this trend has started to shift. We are now seeing several top universities reinstituting these test requirements. So colleges that who have really reinstated the SAT and ACT requirements, couple of them from my mind would be Harvard has got that back, Dartmouth, Purdue, Brown, and very interestingly, even a university from California has started doing this, which is Caltech, California Institute of Technology. Why that specific mention? Because California state was the main state that had requested colleges to go SAT optional, looking at the SAT problem during pandemic. Now, all of these universities have announced that SAT and ACT scores will once again be required for your applicants. These universities really are now arguing that your standardized test scores really provides a valuable metric to assess students fairly, especially in the context of grade inflation across not just schools in USA, you're looking schools across countries and continents. So to look at everyone on that same standardized aspect, these universities have really gone back and have made SAT mandatory. Beyond that, there are also universities that have gone from your SAT blind into your SAT optional. So these schools being Columbia, Princeton, Cornell, Stanford, UPenn, which is University of Pennsylvania, or University of Chicago. So all of these universities have now gone into that SAT optional. What this means for these universities is that giving your SAT score is not mandatory to these universities, but a high score can still make your application more competitive. Universities of California, again, they do not consider SAT score for admissions, but there may be some scholarship programs, even within UCs, where a good SAT score can help you across with the scholarship itself. So even though looking in universities where this test optional, submitting a strong SAT score can really help you stand out as well amongst all those other applications who have not submitted a test score. And obviously, those places where SAT is taken as blind, for example, as universities of California, it will not help you at all in terms of admissions. But again, the same university may be looking at that SAT score if you're looking for a scholarship. So even in a SAT, optional test, SAT remains a very important tool for students to demonstrate their academic potential. It really helps to showcase skills beyond your standard grade 12 scores. It opens scholarship opportunities, and as always will, end up strengthening your SAT, your overall application. So the final takeaway is that if you're applying to schools that have reinstated SAT requirements, your score then just automatically becomes mandatory. The whole exercise of going with and completing SAT becomes mandatory. If you're applying to colleges which are SAT optional or are SAT blind, a SAT score can still boost your chances for at least a scholarship, if not for your test optional, even your admission chances. So now let's just move forward from this part after we have seen that why is it still relevant. moving still within the importance of the SAT score, how do we really try to understand the SAT perspective with the universities that you're going to be applying? So the data on the slide would be presenting. I'll be showing you the percentile scores from top universities. This slide would be on Harvard University, and the following one I would show you the Texas A&M University data as well. The data that you're seeing on your screen, this is the common data set which is issued annually. So you could go to any university website and search for the CDS data or the common data set, which really helps you to understand where a student needs to score or how does his score need to stand compared to the other applicants. Now, understanding the SAT percentile. The 25th percentile represents students who have scored lower than 75% of the admitted applicants. The 50th percentile represents a median score. So half of the admitted students scored above, half of them scored below. The 75th represents the highest scores. So students in the range of, let's say, the top 25% of the admitted applicants are in this area. Now, for example, looking on your screen, the Harvard SAT percentile scores. The 25th percentile SAT score is 740 for EBRW, which is your English-based section, and then 760 for maths. The 50th percentile was 760 and 790 for maths, and then 75th was 780 and 800 respectively in English and mathematics, meaning the top scorers nearly maxed out the test itself. Now, moving across to the next, college that I was saying I'll be showing you across, the Texas A&M University, definitely on a very different rank zone from Harvard. And that's the whole objective, to show the different kind of universities, for students would be also joining us across today, wouldn't be all just applying to a single set of colleges. So students are looking around this kind of a SAT score, a Texas A&M with a 25th percentile composite score at 1160, and a 75th percentile score where you're almost assured of an admission, anywhere around 1380, meaning that students need to score from mid to high 1300 to be the most competitive range. And if you're crossing 1380 and somewhere around 1400, admission within Texas A&M is almost secured, at least from that SAT perspective. So it's very important for you to look into the data of every single university. So now that you've understood the SAT score, you've understood how you could go and get the max out score itself. Now you also need to match that SAT score to your ambitious universities. I've given you how you get this data once for Harvard and then for Texas A&M, how your average scores do vary across two universities, while you'll be creating your list. Just to give you an overall understanding of different SAT scores for different tier of colleges, your top 10, your top 20, 30, 40, and 50, even within your top 50, you're looking at a 1400 score for a secure kind of an admission. Now, moving across to the next point of our conversation today, just a quick show to you which are the universities that are also looking at admissions for SAT in India, that they're also looking at the same results. Just a couple of names there to show you across, which is Ashoka, Flame University, Amity University, Noida, Indian School of Business and Finance. All of these institutes, along with Ahmedabad, Prakasha University, Kriya University, are also looking at the SAT score apart from their own entrance exams. Now, moving away from the overall SAT aspect, giving you majority of that information, the next part of our presentation, as I had said, was to share a roadmap with you, which could really try to get you to your dream university. So this is for those students who are around either in grade 10th or in grade 11th, who are looking for admissions abroad. How can you really go around and create your strategy for SAT? So preparing for SAT isn't really just about studying hard. It's really studying smart. This means setting really a clear goal, assessing where you currently stand, choosing the right kind of studying method, and tracking your progress consistently is what's going to get you through. So setting your target score is one of the most important steps. It's not just to say that I'll go and max out my score. You will be giving diagnostics. You will be looking at the kind of universities that you're applying to in reference to your grade 12 scores, in reference to your overall profile. And once you have gotten that list of potential schools, make let's say a list of 10 colleges that you're applying for, find the 75th percentile scores. So research the 75th percentile score, as I was just showing you for the CDS data, and that should put you into the top 25% of the admitted students within that list that you're making. The list should have, let's say dream colleges, your target colleges, your safety colleges, and even within, let's say, your dream colleges, you should at least be within that close or above that 50th percentile score to make it a realistic application. Now, identify all the special requirements as well while you're setting your targets. So, for example, Georgetown University may require you to send all of your results. Some universities may only require you a single result. So it becomes very important for you to set those targets right. Do you need to get this done in the first attempt, second attempt, or the kind of university that I'm applying to? Do not really bother if I'm giving a single attempt or a super score. So once you have, so then set your target score, either let's say average of the 75th percentile score across the list, or the highest one that gives you the most competitive edge in your overall list of colleges. Then move on to assess your current abilities once you have got your scoring range done. Take practice tests. Go on to the college admissions, college boards Blue Book app, and there you could really simulate those real test conditions. Consistently record your scores. Always identify the gaps in terms of the topics. The way I had, divided all of those maths and English topics. Look at your scoring results, topic by topic, and try to make that preparation method in a way that you're solving and resolving it, that you could attempt all of those 44 questions or 54 questions across the two sections. Then create a complete preparation schedule. You should have an estimate study plan. Approximately, I'd say anywhere between 2.5 months, 3 months is really good amount of study time before your SAT attempt. And I'm saying it from that perspective, if you have already completed on your grade 10 syllabus for maths and English, 3 months preparation would be enough for you to get into that right kind of a SAT score zone. If you're looking at those universities where, let's suppose they need a single SAT score, you may just want to increase this to a 4 month preparation just to be assured of those right kind of grades. But anywhere between, I would say that at the end, 2.5 months to 4 months is a good time to prepare for your SAT itself. Then, lastly, fourthly, then track your progress. Always make sure that you're writing down the various results that you're getting between those time frames, understanding what's the trajectory of your score coming across at Let's Unbound, students who are taking approximately 20 different SAT mocks. And so, your 21st one simply just feels like another blip in that track record that you've been really creating. And that whole pressure of exam testing goes away if you are giving multiple attempts and really tracking those results and looking at those numbers beyond just a panic situation. Now, lastly, go out, get as much as additional support, get into deeper guidance on core concepts across those subjects, get insights into your common SAT test question patterns. Then all of these, activities really help you to maximize your scores. Most important strategies. Now, apart from that, keep a track of your deadlines, especially the registration deadlines. They're very important. I'm sorry, just moving across now to your checkpoints. So these are various checkpoints and aspect that you could look across at if you're a student which is currently in grade 10. So if you're in grade 10 today, your first SAT attempt will not be coming across this year, will be happening next year in November of 2026. And the registration would be somewhere, let's say 22nd October of 26, and preparation would be around from July to July 26 and beyond. Your SAT second attempt will then happen in Jan of 27, and your third attempt then happens on March of 27. Now, students which are currently in grade 11, you have to pull all of those date lines to today, this year. Your first attempt will come in November of 2025, with the registration opening on October 2020, which is already open, by the way, on 22nd of this month. And I think students who have been preparing from June of 25th would be really in the right place to make this attempt. If you haven't started preparing, we'll have to do a SAT diagnostic and really understand what would be the feasibility of applying for this attempt next month. The second attempt should come next year around January. and the final attempt should be concluded by March of 2026. Now, the approach that we largely take with students in our preparation cycle, we start across with a diagnostic. I'll also share the link with the students who have joined us across today, and parents, if you'd be interested in a SAT diagnostic, we will give you a complete full mock test, get an understanding over your strengths, your weaknesses, and you could also use this link for that same aspect. Now, once we have done that, we move on to the personalized study plan for all of our students, where we give one-to-one live tutoring, and we do conduct exclusive strategy sessions as well. Along with those full-length mock tests, as I said, we will be conducting 20 of them, where finally your final SAT just feels like the 21st attempt. The three most important pillars that we do believe with all of our entrance exams and exams for admissions, it is accuracy, it's speed, and it's exam strategy and stamina. The most important aspect has always been try to put yourself 20 times in this whole aspect of going through 2 hours 14 minutes of that examination where you're spending 1.2 minutes for English, 1.6 minutes for mathematics, and being in that right kind of a SAT score. Now, this is how the diagnostic test summary will look like for all of the students who will be taking the test through the link that I have just shared. It will give you an overall view, and it'll also give you a good understanding of how you're scoring within the sections, the reading and writing. It'll give you your correct answers, the incorrect answers, and also the ones that you skipped. And along with that, with the three responses that you can have per question, it'll also tell you the right, wrongs, and the time that you have taken to get that done. So how effectively are you answering the reading and writing section? How effectively you answering the math section, and within both of them across the subtopics? So you have a very good understanding, where your weaknesses are, where you're going wrong, why are you skipping those questions? So you could maximize your result potential once we help you resolve these issues. The most important parts of the benefits of preparing through our digital SAT lab, we give you the personalized attention, we give you in terms of your optimal learning through our decades of research, and we put students through this three-tiered preparation where we understand their basic understandings, we explain and help them through those topics and take them to the medium and advanced levels, and that's how the preparation typically increases. This is just to show you across overall program for a SAT lab. We give 90 hours of foundation prep, which is divided 45 hours contact and 45 hours of non-contact, along with 60 hours of mock testing as well. These are the other products that we do also give across as services right across from elementary to high school students. Now, just to share you a couple of success stories. Firstly, in terms of the SAT scores that we have just gotten this year. So students that have gotten a SAT score across 1510, 1580, and 1560 while preparing for SAT across with us. And this is that real perfect score of a kid getting a 1560. Now, just moving across to an example of a complete application. This is a student that prepared with us and did very well within his SAT score as well, getting a 1550 and eventually being admitted into Dartmouth. Very good in terms of basketball, represented it on national level, founded an NGO, talented solo singer, and performed at charity events. Was this whole overall strong application that gets the student into into that admission where it's not just restricted to a strong SAT score, but that strong SAT score at times does start to become your headline I would say description, but the description must continue forward with an overall profile for the application to go through. Now, this is just another explanation. Now, we just move over to the resources. So every weekend we conduct a webinar over different topics. This week, as you have seen, we have just gone into the very details of SAT. Next weekend, we'll be looking at various universities globally. So do join us across next week in our webinar named, Beyond the Ivy Leagues, exploring your top universities across the globe. So do join us across as well for that webinar. Along with our webinars, we do also put a lot of information out through these newsletters. So you could use the QR code on the bottom of your, on on also bottom of the slide to access it. Otherwise, you could all, I'm just dropping the link on the chat. So you could also access this platform through the link, if not through the QR code. Now, these are two other platforms that we do also use to put out information. One being YouTube on your left, and WhatsApp platform for students who are looking at admissions abroad, like-minded peers like you. You could join either of these platforms to get information on admissions from these two platforms as well. Now, this is the SAT diagnostic that I was also talking to you about. You could use the QR code on your top just to get access to this test, and we will then be able to help you to identify your strong areas, your weak areas on SAT. Lastly, if you'd want to look into the complete admissions via us, so you could scan on this QR code now and understand about admissions via a exclusive strategy admissions guidance session. Right, so we are done with the presentation today. I will leave the QR code on the screen for now for you guys to, just, get and connect with us. Otherwise, I would be dropping up I'll be just looking at for any dropped up questions in the chat section, or you could drop me a couple of more if you want to look at. What's the highest grades or DMs recommend here? I mean, see, within high school grades, it really depends on what kind of rank of colleges you're looking at. If you're looking at top 10, top 20 colleges, and you're from CBSE, staying closer to your 95% really do help. And that's the kind of percentage above 90, even if you're looking at anywhere between top 30, top 40, top 50 colleges. So your 90s is the region where you'd like to be at. In terms of SAT, you should be in 40s within the denominator of 45. And within your A levels, try to get 3 A stars and 2 A's to have as many as college options open to you in terms of your college grades. Can you please go through those? Right. So if there are no further questions, then we'll conclude this session for today. I'll just give a couple of more seconds. How much of the SAT is multiple choice questions? Wouldn't be very sure in terms of percentage. That does vary, but majority of a math section, yes. Right. Any other questions? Right. So thank you for joining us across today. We'll be concluding off. Happy Diwali in advance to everyone who has joined us, and hoping to get to chat with all of you guys in one-on-one session. Would be then looking for more understanding on that. Thank you.